Let's do disc brakes.
Hey!
Hey!
I had the car.
Alright, got our original drum off. Usually you have all the other stuff. Backing, well, basically just a backing plate. We have to put our disc brake kit on here from Speedway. Went with the Speedway one because I trust them and they have a decent return and all that. You know, if there's a problem, I can talk to them. It was unfortunately a little more expensive for a 5 on 4.5 compared to the Chevy pattern because these are GM rotors, so they are having to change them a little bit. It was 448 bucks, so not too bad. Shipped. Well, we're stuck. We're missing part number 1, which is our bearing adapter, and so we really can't do anything. Okay, a few days later, we got our bearing adapter, and a few days later after that, we got another one because they didn't send 2, they only sent me 1. But the nice part about dealing with Speedway or Jegs or Summit, at least they have kind of a no struggle. They're not going to fight you about it. So we got part number 1, which is what we were waiting for here. So backing plate goes on, bearing adapter. Now we're going to grease our bearings, install the bearing seal, grease our other bearing. The bearing races are already in the rotor. We don't need to install those. There's a little adapter here to take up space here. It's just a kind of a glorified washer. Our keyed washer, our castle nut, our cotter pin, very important, and dust cap. I got a little tool here that my pop showed me. I was a young lad working on whatevers. This is that piece that's on the floor, and this piece are bearing greaser. You stick your bearing on there. Stick this guy through there, and instead of packing them by hand, you put your grease gun on this little guy here, and he fills her up with grease. And then you put this guy back in a bag or a old ice cream container or something, because you don't want dirt getting on the grease that you got in there, and you lose a lot of grease by cleaning this thing and refilling it. Go. She's packed all the way through. Put a rail around the edge here. Put him in the back of your rotor here. Wipe the ungodly amount of grease off your hands. Now we need to put on our bearing seal. The way I like to do these is a piece of wood and a hammer. See how it does it. A lot better than trying to pack it through with your fingers. Stab him on there. Now let's sand. We need our spacer. This guy. And let's sand. We need our washer. Wisher has a little keyway that goes on the spindle. Hold it from spinning for whatever reason. Castle nut. We need to set our tension on our castle nut here. Alright, setting tension on bearings is something that you kind of get used to after you've done a few of them. But basically what you're going to do is tighten it down and then back it off. This is not going to be tight in the conventional sense of tightening down bolts. It's definitely not going to throw an impact on it or anything like that. Alright, I can feel it starting to get tight here. So that's where you stop. You're not gonna be tightening this thing down. Our bearings feel really good right there. Feel how tight we are. We're not too tight. That's starting to get a little bit on the too tight side. So we're gonna check where our cotter key is gonna go through, and we're gonna find a comfortable spot for that. So you're not going to usually tighten down to the next one unless if it's really close. So we're going to back off a little bit here, and then we're going to stick our cotter key in. Just a simple little hairpin looking pin. So slide that through there, and then we're going to take it and we're going to bend it back, hammer it kind of down on top of itself here, right like that. Now you can see that it's not going to be tight. That nut's not going to be tight there. It's going to have, you know, but you shouldn't be able to rattle the rotor. It should be pretty solid. Now the last piece of our bearing setup here is our dust cap. It's literally just that. It doesn't do anything else. And just really lightly work around it. Try not to dent it up. It might show, so want it to not be totally whooped. Now I'll probably do the other side here and get it to this point maybe before I start the other side. Get these calipers painted. Okay, so our last part being our caliper. Got them painted up all shiny red because red is the color I had of caliper paint. I'm going to put a little bit of lithium grease into these O-rings so the bolts can slide, or it can slide on the bolts easy. Put the pads in and get them bolted on here. When you're threading these bolts through, make sure that it doesn't wipe out that O-ring in here like it just did. You can see that O-ring just popped out there. It happens a lot. Our brake line, our banjo bolt here. They sent, I don't know what the other washers were, maybe aluminum. They sent aluminum and copper. I trust copper more. So factory, these would come on an S10 or a Camaro or a Nova, I don't know what. Chevy has this notch, and that brake line is supposed to sit up. Let me screw this out a little bit. It's supposed to sit in this notch like that. But as you can see, that's not going to work, because by the time we start turning, what is it, right, it's going to just crush this in here. So we're going to have it out. And then you're going to want it to go up into its holder without binding. So we're probably going to be something something like that. You have to see if it's going to pinch it or anything in that angle, and also is it going to hit the caliper right here when you tighten it down. You need to make sure that the washer is going to sit tight, the brake line is going to sit tight up against the washer without hitting this. If it is going to hit this, just take a grinder or something like that, take the caliper off, grind you a little spot. It's just it's not going to hurt anything, so the brake line can sit in there. Of course, making sure that you're not getting anywhere near that surface where the washer and the line go on. But I think that'll be okay there. That's basically it.